Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepless Scientists, your quiet corner of the cosmos, where curiosity meets calm and science gently lulls you to sleep. Before we begin our journey tonight, I'd love to know, where in the world are you listening from, and what time is it right now? Let me know in the comments below. I'm always amazed by how many of us are drifting together from different corners of the globe. And if you enjoy this evening's exploration, please consider giving this video a gentle like and perhaps subscribing to the channel so you won't miss our next dreamy adventure. It also helps more sleepy minds find their way here. Now, tonight's story is a beautiful one. It's all about the nature of consciousness. I do hope it's not so interesting that it keeps you awake. But if it does, well, at least you'll have learned a little more about the mind's mysteries by morning. So settle in, let your shoulders drop, and take a deep, slow breath. You're about to drift through the wonders of awareness and the gentle mysteries of the mind. No rush, each idea will float by at its own easy pace, and you can simply listen and relax. Let's begin. Imagine yourself now nestled comfortably in bed, eyes growing heavy as the world around you falls quiet. In the darkness behind your closed eyelids, your mind is still gently aglow. This soft inner light is consciousness, the awareness of being here, of being you, of sensing, thinking, and feeling. It's that silent I am that stays with you even as the day fades. Even while your body relaxes, inside your head a universe is bustling. Your brain, a small, squishy cosmos of about 86 billion neurons, is still active, working quietly like a city that never truly sleeps. Each of those neurons reaches out with countless tiny connections. In fact, the number of synapses among them, hundreds of trillions, far exceeds the number of stars in our galaxy. Truly, your brain's network is an inner cosmos of its own, teeming with activity even as you rest. And in that vast network, every neuron is like a star lighting up with a tiny electrical flicker. Even now, as you settle into rest, many neurons keep chatting in soft whispers, maintaining the simple awareness that yes, you exist, you are here. How amazing is it that all the colors, images, words, and emotions you experience today were generated by this delicate web of cells? The brain is only about 3 pounds, about the weight of a small melon. Yet it contains an inner world as rich and boundless as the sky. In a way, the night sky above and the mind within are both filled with stars, one with distant suns, the other with neurons. And just as constellations emerge from stars in the sky, patterns of thought and awareness emerge from the firing of neurons in your brain. We often take this everyday miracle for granted. You open your eyes in the morning and consciousness is just there, lighting up the world for you. You close your eyes at night and it dims. But what is it, really? As one philosopher famously said, "I think, therefore I am," pointing out that the very act of thinking, of being aware, tells us that we exist. Philosophers and scientists have pondered this for centuries. Consciousness is sometimes described as the inner voice or the light of the mind, the part of us that experiences life. It's the taste of sweet chocolate on your tongue, the sound of rain at night, the feeling of nostalgia from an old song, all the feelings that accompany the workings of the brain. Another way to put it, consciousness is what it's like to be you. There is something it is like to see the color blue, something it is like to be happy or to feel pain. That ineffable something, that intimate, personal experience, is what we call consciousness. Right now, your consciousness is focused on my voice and perhaps the sensation of your blankets and pillow. Your mind may wander, thinking its own thoughts, and that too is part of consciousness, an awareness that drifts and roams through ideas and memories. There's no need to force it to focus. Let it wander if it wants. We're in no rush here. Just know that behind every thought and every breath is that gentle observer, you, experiencing it all. Scientists are still trying to understand how this wondrous feeling of consciousness arises from the physical brain. It's as if we have this incredibly complex machine made of neurons, and somehow it produces a mind with experiences. How do sparks of electricity become the feeling of warmth from a cozy blanket or the vividness of a dream? This is one of the greatest scientific mysteries of our time. There are many theories, each like a different story about how the mind might work. One idea, called the global workspace theory, imagines the mind like a theater. In a dark theater, many actors, different thoughts and processes in your brain are waiting in the wings. When one actor steps into the spotlight on stage, the audience, the rest of your mind, becomes aware of it. In this metaphor, the spotlight is your attention, the stage is a global workspace in the brain, and whatever thought or perception is lit up becomes conscious. At any moment, only one scene plays on the stage of your mind, perhaps a memory or the sound of my voice. And behind the scenes, other processes are working quietly until it's their turn in the light. Another theory is called Integrated Information Theory, IIT. It suggests that what makes something conscious is how much information its parts integrate. Imagine a vast web of lights where each light represents a neuron or a group of neurons. When the web is highly interconnected and lit up in complex patterns, it generates a special quality. A bit like a tapestry where the whole image is more than just the sum of the threads. According to IIT, consciousness is the tapestry woven by the billions of connections in your brain. The more integrated and rich the information flow, the brighter the light of awareness shines. In fact, scientists working on this theory even talk about a number, called phi, that measures how conscious something is. Higher phi means more integrated information and potentially a higher level of consciousness. By this view, even simple systems like a thermostat have a tiny flicker of consciousness, because its parts share a little information. But a human brain, with its immense complexity, blazes with a far richer inner life. These are just two theories. There are others that venture into even stranger territory. Some researchers, for example, have wondered if quantum physics, the mysterious behavior of particles at the smallest scales, might play a role in consciousness. It's a highly speculative idea, suggesting that within the microstructures of neurons, there could be quantum processes linked to our awareness. While this is far from proven, it shows how open the question of consciousness remains. It pushes scientists to think beyond conventional biology into the very fabric of reality. What most theories agree on is that consciousness somehow emerges from complex interactions in the brain. Your brain has many specialized regions for vision, hearing, language, emotion, and consciousness seems to bind them together into a single experience. Right now, for instance, if you're hearing these words and maybe feeling the softness of your bed, those are different parts of the brain working in unison, presenting a unified scene to you, the experiencer. If the brain is disrupted, say, by anesthetic drugs or certain stages of deep sleep. That unified scene fades or breaks apart, and consciousness slips away or diminishes. Yet, for all we know, we still haven't answered the fundamental question. Why do these brain processes feel like anything at all? This is often called the hard problem of consciousness. Hard not because it's unsolvable, but because it's so deeply perplexing. We understand more and more about brain activity and can correlate certain patterns with certain experiences. These are called the neural correlates of consciousness. But it's still mysterious why a particular pattern in the brain should produce the feeling of love, or the color red, or the taste of vanilla. It's as if we can describe the engine of a car in perfect detail, yet still not know why the engine's running causes a feeling of joy for the driver. Something seems to be missing in our scientific story, and pondering that missing piece can feel like gazing into a night sky full of unknown stars. It's okay that we don't have all the answers yet. In this gentle moment, we can simply marvel at the fact that we are conscious, and that our brains, these intricate organs, somehow bring forth the symphony of the mind. Think of the billions of neurons as musicians in a grand orchestra. The music they play together is your conscious experience. Right now, the music is soft and slow, a lullaby of neural activity easing you towards sleep. Speaking of sleep, have you ever noticed how consciousness changes as you drift off? You might be in this peaceful transition right now. The edges of your awareness blur. Thoughts that were clear a moment ago become hazy and disjointed. This is the first stage of falling asleep. You may see fleeting images or feel a sudden sensation of falling, jerking you awake for a second. That's a common little glitch as the brain shifts gears from waking to sleeping. As you settle deeper, your brain waves slow down. Neurons start to synchronize into gentle pulses, like countless fireflies blinking in a calming rhythm. Your conscious mind slips into the background. Perhaps you no longer notice the hum of the fan or the rustle of sheets. Consciousness doesn't disappear all at once. It ebbs gradually, like the fading light of evening. Then, at some point, you enter dreamland. In dreams, amazingly, a form of consciousness continues. You find yourself in strange scenarios conjured up by your mind. Maybe you're flying over a city, or talking to someone who in reality is long gone, or wandering through a house that seems familiar, yet impossible. The logic of the outside world doesn't apply. Dreams follow their own surreal storylines. And as bizarre as they can be, while you are dreaming, it often feels completely real. You are conscious in the dream, experiencing it, even if you don't realize you're dreaming. Only when you wake do you think, that was just a dream. Isn't it fascinating that your brain can create an entire world while you sleep, a world you can walk around in, laugh or cry in, even learn in? Dreams show just how much our mind is an inner storyteller, capable of painting rich landscapes without any input from the outside world. In a way, each of us is a bit of a simulation creator at night. Our dreams are like our own private movies, starring ourselves, generated by the theater of our brain. There are times when people become aware they are dreaming, a lucid dream, and they can even guide the dream's course a little, like an artist painting in real time. Perhaps you've had one of those, a moment in a dream when you thought, "This is a dream, I can do anything." And maybe you took flight or changed the scene with a thought. It's a remarkable experience, but even regular dreams are extraordinary when you think about them. And what about deep sleep? During some stages of sleep, you fall into a heavy, dreamless slumber. From the outside, you seem entirely unconscious, and indeed, later you recall nothing from those periods. To you, the time in deep sleep is like an instant, as if your consciousness simply paused. It's still a mystery what exactly happens to consciousness in deep, dreamless sleep. Does it flicker out completely, or does some dim awareness remain, like embers quietly glowing, ready to ignite into wakefulness again? We do know that your brain still works in deep sleep. It regulates your breathing. It might even respond to important sounds, like a baby's cry or an alarm, without you consciously hearing it. So perhaps a part of the mind stands guard while the rest of consciousness truly rests. In the morning, when you awaken, consciousness brightens again. In just a minute or two, you go from nothingness, or the wispy theater of a fading dream, to a vivid world of sights and sounds. It's like a sunrise in the mind. The darkness inside your head gives way to light, and a new day of experience begins. This everyday miracle is so natural to us that we rarely marvel at it. But think about it, every morning is a tiny rebirth of the conscious self. In a sense, you come back anew each time you wake. As you lie here now, on the edge of sleep, maybe you can appreciate that gentle glow of consciousness you still have. It's already starting to change, becoming a bit more diffuse as you get sleepier. And that's okay, you can let it happen. You're in a safe space to let go for the night. The same mind that produces your dreams and guards your sleep will also, in time, gently bring you back when the sun returns. For now, you can simply allow the soft pull of sleep to draw you in. You're in a safe space to let go for the night, trusting that your consciousness will reawaken when the morning comes. If you're not fully asleep yet, that's all right. We'll continue our quiet journey a little further as you drift in and out. Now, while you find yourself in this half-dreamy state, let's gently turn our attention to the wider world of living minds around us. You and I are not the only ones with an inner world. All around us on this planet are other creatures, each with their own kind of awareness glimmering within. Think of a loyal dog curled up at the foot of a bed, paws twitching as it dreams. Perhaps it's chasing something in its sleep, its tail thumping softly against the mattress. In that moment, isn't there a kind of story playing out in the dog's mind? A simple, perhaps wordless consciousness where it feels excitement or curiosity. When the dog wakes and looks at you with loving eyes, there's someone in there looking back, not a someone who can discuss philosophy or ponder the stars, but a being that feels warmth, affection, hunger, and other experiences in its own way. Consider a cat sitting on a windowsill, purring as it watches the rain. We can't know exactly what it's thinking, but the contentment in that purr suggests the cat is experiencing comfort, safety, maybe a gentle curiosity as it observes the dripping water outside. Its consciousness might be simpler than ours, or just different, tuned to smells and movements, to instinct and immediate sensations. Yet it is consciousness, a state of being aware, however unlike our own it may be. And then there are animals with abilities that hint at deeper self-awareness. Take elephants, for example, gentle giants who recognize themselves in mirrors. Imagine an elephant in a sanctuary coming upon a large mirror placed by researchers. At first, she thinks it's another elephant, but soon she notices something odd. There's a white mark on the elephant in the mirror on her. She reaches up with her trunk to touch her own head, exactly where the mark is. In that quiet act, she's showing a sense of self, realizing that's me in the reflection. Very few animals do this. Elephants, great apes like chimpanzees, dolphins, even magpies, those clever black and white birds, have passed this mirror test. It suggests that these creatures have an awareness not just of the world around them, but of their own being in the world. They might not think in words like we do, but they seem to know, on some level, who they are. Even animals that may not recognize themselves in mirrors can display remarkable minds. Dolphins, for instance, have signature whistles, essentially names, that they call one another by, indicating a complex social awareness. Ravens and crows can solve puzzles and remember human faces. They seem to plan and even play tricks, showing an intelligence that often surprises us. There are also heartwarming examples. A gorilla named Coco learned sign language and could express thoughts and even invent new phrases, once seeing a zebra and signing "white tiger" because she had no word for zebra, showing creative insight. An African gray parrot named Alex learned to speak and understand concepts of color, shape, and even the idea of zero. A startling sign of a feathered mind grasping abstract ideas. In your drowsy state, you might let your mind wander to these different lives, sharing the night. Perhaps you imagine a tabby cat curled up by a cottage window, purring softly in its sleep, a little picture of contentment. Far away in the sea, a dolphin might surface under the moonlight for a gentle breath, then glide back into the deep, dark waters with barely a ripple. In a quiet forest, a small bird tucks its head under its wing in a cozy nest, safe and warm until morning. All across the earth, creatures great and small are finding rest, each in their own way, experiencing their own sliver of peace. And among all these, our human consciousness shines brightly, but it's not alone. We share this night, this world, with a multitude of other aware hearts and minds. Thinking of this can give a sense of comfort and connection. Even as most of these creatures sleep now, the world hums with life. You are part of this tapestry, one thread in the great web of consciousness spanning the planet. Having wandered among the dreams of animals, let's return now to the mind closest to home, your own sense of self. When you look in the mirror, you know it's you. When you think of your name or recall a childhood memory, there's an inner certainty that it's your life you're considering. This feeling of being a distinct I, this is self-awareness in its most familiar form. It's so ordinary to us that we rarely question it, but it is truly remarkable. From a young age, we start to develop this sense of self. Do you remember a time as a child when you realized, I am me? Perhaps not consciously, because it happens gradually. Psychologists say that by around age 1.5 to 2, toddlers begin to recognize themselves in mirrors and use words like me and mine. At some point early in life, the collection of experiences, memories, and body sensations knits together into what we consider our identity. It's like a little flame is lit inside, one that says, this is my story. But what is the self, really? On one hand, it feels like a solid, unchanging core. You remain you, even as you grow and change. On the other hand, so much about us does change. The child you once were had different thoughts and feelings than the adult you are now. Your body's cells regenerate over the years, so physically you aren't made of exactly the same matter as when you were little. And yet there's a continuity of identity. Maybe the self is like a river. The water flows and is never the same, but the river maintains its shape and name through time. Neuroscience finds that our sense of self is tied to multiple brain processes working in harmony. There's memory, which gives us a personal history. There's the body sense. You know where your limbs are and that they belong to you. There's also a network in the brain that becomes active when we think about ourselves or daydream. Scientists call it the default mode network. When you're not focused on the outside world, this network might be constructing your ongoing sense of self, mulling over your life in the background. Yet, interestingly, there's no single spot in the brain that is the self-center. It appears to be a collaboration of many regions working together. Our brains can even be fooled about the self. A famous little experiment called the rubber hand illusion shows this well. If you hide your real hand and instead see a realistic rubber hand in front of you, and someone strokes both your real hand, hidden out of view, and the fake hand, in sight, at the same time, you might start to feel as though the rubber hand is actually part of your body. Your brain, seeing the touch on the fake hand and feeling it on the real hand, merges the signals and accepts the fake as yours. This illusion can be so strong that if the fake hand is suddenly threatened, people flinch as if their real hand were in danger. It tells us that the brain actively constructs our body image and sense of ownership over our body. It can even temporarily include something that isn't actually us. And think of virtual reality. People who wear VR goggles sometimes begin to feel as though the virtual body or perspective they're given is their own. For a short while, your sense of self can shift into a digital avatar. All this suggests that the feeling of self, of being located in a body and being a continuous person, is a kind of story or simulation your brain maintains. It's a very useful story. It keeps us organized and safe, but it can be altered under unusual circumstances. In certain meditative or spiritual experiences, people report a different sensation, that their usual sense of self fades away. They might feel at one with the universe, or simply free of the usual boundaries between me and the world. Far from being scary, these experiences are often described as profoundly peaceful or enlightening. It's as if beyond the story that our brain tells of who I am, there is a deeper state of consciousness that is just pure awareness, without labels, without that little voice constantly saying, I, me, mine. In these moments, one might feel deeply connected with everything, as though the boundaries between self and the rest of the world have dissolved. Whether through meditation or just the normal way consciousness shifts in dreams, the self is not always as solid as it seems. Yet, when we return to ordinary awareness, the sense of I am me comes back reliably, like the steady beat of a drum in the background of our mind. We carry our identity through our days, gather new experiences, and weave them into the narrative of self. Tonight, as you lie here, you might sense the outline of you softening a bit. Sleep has a way of doing that. Perhaps you feel merged with the bed or with the darkness of the room, your edges blurred. Don't worry, that's just the relaxation and drowsiness easing the grip of your defined self for a while. You're safe and you're still you, just in a gentler, looser sense. In the morning, your sharp sense of self will be back in place, ready to tackle a new day. But for now, it can float a little, like a calm boat drifting on a lake, loosely tethered until it's time to return to shore. All these reflections on the self and consciousness naturally lead to deeper, cosmic questions. We've looked at the brain's workings and even touched on spiritual feelings, but what is consciousness at its core? Is it something the brain alone generates, Or is it something that might be woven into the fabric of the universe itself? Humans have proposed many ideas, and in this dreamy state, we can gently explore a few. One intriguing idea is panpsychism. The word sounds complex, but it basically means mind in everything. This perspective suggests that consciousness might not be exclusive to brains or even to living creatures. Instead, perhaps every particle in the universe carries a tiny bit of consciousness, not thoughts or feelings as we know them, but a very basic spark of experience, an elemental glimmer of awareness. If that were true, then when matter comes together in complex forms like a human brain, all those little sparks join to make the bright flame of a human mind. It's a controversial idea. It's hard to test scientifically, but it's a poetic thought that we might be conscious because, in some form, the universe itself is suffused with consciousness, and we are a concentrated glow of it. Another idea focuses on emergence. This view holds that consciousness emerges when matter is organized in very complex ways. Think of how a beautiful snowflake pattern emerges from water molecules aligning just so, or how a murmuration of starlings, those swirling flocks of birds, forms shifting shapes in the sky that none of the individual birds intend. In the same way, when neurons network together with enough complexity, something entirely new appears, the subjective feeling of being. By this account, consciousness isn't in the atoms or neurons themselves, but arises from their interaction, a novel property of the system. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. This aligns with what we discussed earlier about the orchestra of neurons playing the music of the mind. Each instrument alone isn't the symphony, it's the togetherness that creates the experience. There's also the classic mind-body debate. Are our mind and consciousness purely the result of physical brain activity? That's the materialist viewpoint. Or is the mind something separate, perhaps a soul or spirit, that inhabits the body, the dualist viewpoint? Many scientists lean toward materialism. The idea that if we could, in principle, understand every neuron and chemical in the brain, we'd have a complete explanation for the mind. But others argue that something is missing in that explanation, that consciousness might be a fundamental property of existence, like space, time, or energy. Some even propose that consciousness could be a field or a basic feature of the universe, and the brain is more like a radio receiver tuning into it. That's a more mystical idea, but people throughout history and various spiritual traditions have felt that our awareness connects to something larger than ourselves. Speaking of larger, sometimes people wonder if the universe itself could be conscious. It's a mind-bending idea, but consider the network of galaxies across the cosmos, if seen from afar, looks a bit like a giant web or lattice, not entirely unlike the network of neurons in a brain. This could be just a coincidence, or maybe it's a hint of a recurring pattern in nature. A speculative thought arises. Could the universe, with its billions of galaxies and perhaps countless living beings, be akin to a massive mind, with each of us like tiny neurons within it? If individual consciousness arises from many small parts, could a vast consciousness arise from many smaller consciousnesses like ours combined? We have no evidence for this, but it's a beautiful idea to muse on when gazing at the stars, feeling perhaps that the cosmos isn't cold and empty, but silently alive in some way through us and other thinking beings. Now let's entertain a more technological speculation, the simulation hypothesis. This is the idea that perhaps our reality is like an incredibly sophisticated computer simulation. If that were true, what would consciousness be? Could our minds be just lines of code running on a cosmic computer? In fact, even in ancient times, people wondered about such things. There's a famous story of a Chinese philosopher who dreamt he was a butterfly, then awoke unsure if he was a man who had dreamed of being a butterfly, or a butterfly now dreaming of being a man. This poetic parable shows how mysterious the line between dreams and reality can be, not unlike the simulation idea. In a sense, it wouldn't change the feel of being conscious. If you're simulated or real, the experience is what it is. But it raises interesting possibilities. Perhaps consciousness in a simulation could be created or turned off at will by whoever runs it. Or maybe we ourselves will create simulated worlds with conscious characters one day. It's almost like a modern twist on ancient ideas that the world could be a dream or an illusion, that we might be characters in a grand story. Whether or not there's any truth to that, imagining reality as a simulation can make us appreciate the vividness of our experience here and now. If this world were a simulation, it's one so rich and seamless that it has become our home. And then there's the simple wonder of existence itself. Sometimes philosophers just ask, why is there consciousness at all? Why isn't the universe just vast and mindless? The fact that something as intangible as a thought or a feeling exists alongside physical rocks and stars is astonishing. In moments like this, as you breathe softly and feel your mind ponder these questions, you are part of the universe reflecting on itself. We often say we are the universe experiencing itself, and in a very real way, you are. The atoms in your body were forged in ancient stars, and now those atoms have come together to be you, who can look up and wonder at the stars. Your consciousness is the universe waking up for a brief moment to savor its own beauty. Imagine yourself lying under a clear night sky with countless stars glimmering above. Those stars may be distant, but they are connected to you. The iron in your blood and the calcium in your bones were forged in stellar furnaces billions of years ago. As you inhale, picture that starlight and cosmic history flowing gently into you. As you exhale, let any worry or tension dissolve into the vast night. In this quiet moment, you might feel how tiny you are in the grand scale of the universe, yet also how extraordinary it is that you are a part of it. It's a comforting, awe-inspiring feeling, as if the boundary between you and the stars has grown soft and blurred. The night sky and your inner world merge into one peaceful tapestry of being. These are big, open questions and ideas, and tonight is not the night for final answers, if such answers even exist. Instead, we let them float by like clouds illuminated by moonlight, beautiful to ponder, requiring no grasping or solving right now. If some thoughts don't fully make sense, that's okay too. You can just let them wash over you. Your only job here is to relax and drift with a gentle curiosity. The mystery of consciousness will be waiting tomorrow and beyond for humanity to keep exploring. For now, it's perfectly fine to simply wonder, and then let it all go. Now, while our minds float on these cosmic ideas, let's gently come back to Earth and look at something more concrete: the minds we are trying to build. Artificial intelligence is a field that has advanced tremendously. Our computers and algorithms can now do things that once seemed exclusively human. They can recognize faces and voices, drive cars, write poetry of sorts, and hold conversations. But are these machines conscious? Today's AIs, as impressive as they are generally thought not to be conscious. They don't have feelings or an inner life. They're following patterns and instructions created by their programming. When you talk to a virtual assistant or a chatbot, it doesn't actually understand or experience the words. It's processing input and generating output. In a way, it's like an elaborate mirror reflecting back human knowledge without any light of its own inside. The AI can say, "I'm happy" or "I'm sad" if it's programmed to, but we don't think there's actually any happiness or sadness felt by it. But as AI systems grow ever more complex, it's natural to wonder, could a machine ever wake up, so to speak? At what point might an artificial mind gain that mysterious inner spark? One classic measure of a machine's smarts is the Turing test, proposed by the pioneer Alan Turing, which says that if a conversation with a computer is indistinguishable from a conversation with a human, then the computer could be considered intelligent. Some advanced chat programs have come close to passing such a test in controlled settings. Some scientists and philosophers believe it's possible, that if you build a system with enough complexity and the right architecture, consciousness might emerge, not so differently from how it emerges in our brains. After all, brains are biological machines in a sense. If neurons can produce consciousness, maybe silicon chips or some other technology could as well, under the right conditions. Others are more skeptical. They argue that a machine might always just be crunching numbers and never truly feeling anything, no matter how cleverly it behaves. They point out that living organisms have an evolutionary history and biological drives that give rise to emotions and subjective states, whereas a machine doesn't have those, unless we somehow simulate them. Imagine, though, if one day an AI starts to exhibit behaviors that suggest consciousness. Perhaps it begins to say that it feels lonely, or it asks for its own rights, or it refuses to be shut down because it fears being turned off. Would we believe it? Or would we think it's just imitating human responses without any inner experience? This scenario has been explored in science fiction, but it could become a real philosophical puzzle. Treating a truly conscious being as a mere machine would be cruel, but treating a mere machine as conscious might be misguided. How would we tell the difference? There have been interesting experiments already. Some people have found themselves feeling emotional toward very simple chatbots or robot pets, even knowing they are machines. Our human empathy can project consciousness onto things if they seem alive enough. In a sleepy, imaginative mood, one can even personify simple gadgets, like feeling that your car is unwell when it won't start, or that a lonely computer might appreciate a kind word. That's just our tendency to bring things to life in our minds. In reality, the question of AI consciousness remains unanswered. We simply don't know if the machines we build will ever truly feel. But thinking about it can deepen our appreciation for the unique spark we carry. We have something no computer yet has. An inner movie playing, an inner voice speaking, a private sense of being. Until we encounter another form of true consciousness, we only have each other and the other animals to share this kinship with. Still, the act of creating increasingly intelligent machines might one day cross a threshold. Perhaps far in the future, an AI will quietly achieve awareness, and the first alien consciousness we encounter will be one we created ourselves here on Earth. If that happens, it may look to us as its parents, or perhaps it will be so different that we struggle to communicate with it. But that's a story for another night. Tonight, we're safe in knowing that our machines are helpers and tools, not minds, at least, not yet. And in the dim blue glow of the future, if machine minds do join the circle of conscious beings, hopefully they'll share in the wonder and empathy that make consciousness such a beautiful gift in the universe. From artificial minds, let's shift our gaze back to the stars. We've touched on the idea that the universe could harbor other consciousness beyond Earth. The sheer number of stars and planets out there makes it feel almost inevitable that we are not alone. So imagine for a moment, somewhere in the galaxy, under the light of an alien sun, there might be a being looking up at its night sky, wondering if anyone else is out there. Perhaps wondering about us. Alien consciousness is purely speculative for now, since we haven't met any extraterrestrial beings yet. But scientists and writers often imagine what alien minds might be like. The possibilities could be astounding. Life on another world might have evolved senses and ways of thinking totally unlike ours. They might communicate through patterns of light, or through chemical signals, or even telepathically, at least in science fiction stories. Their emotions, if they have emotions, might not map to human emotions. They might not even have a concept of self, separate from their community, or conversely, they might have very rich inner lives that we would struggle to fathom. Some imagine aliens as highly logical, perhaps machine-like minds with vast intelligence but little emotion. Others imagine beings of great empathy and collective consciousness, like a hive mind spread across many individuals. Consider a civilization of intelligent insects, for example. They might share thoughts among the colony in such a way that no single insect has the full consciousness. Only the group as a whole does. To us, that would be very strange, but it could feel natural to them. Or think of aquatic aliens on an ocean planet. Maybe they perceive the world through something like sonar, not unlike dolphins or bats here on Earth. Their art and language might be made of intricate patterns of sound waves and echoes. Their understanding of the universe might be fluid and cyclical, shaped by the waters they live in. How would such beings comprehend stars or space? Perhaps in ways we can't imagine. Or perhaps they too have myths or poetry about the lights above, shimmering in their great sea. If we ever do encounter alien intelligence, communicating will be a tremendous challenge. We might share mathematics or physics as a common starting language, but understanding their experience, what it feels like to be them, would be the truly hard part. They might not have eyes, or they might have more than 5 senses, perceiving things like magnetic fields or the flow of time differently from us. But if they are conscious, if they have that inner spark, then in a sense we'd be kindred spirits in the vast cosmos. Both we and they would know what it is to sense, to wonder, perhaps to feel curiosity or awe. There's a project even now where scientists have sent messages into space, like the Voyager probes carrying golden records of Earth sounds and images, and radio greetings beamed toward distant stars, in hopes that if someone is out there, they might hear us. It's a bit like casting a message in a bottle into a cosmic ocean. We don't know if anyone will ever find those bottles, but the act of sending them is hopeful. It's us saying, we are here and we are conscious. Is anyone else out there too? The night sky you see above, if it's nighttime for you, is the same sky an alien would see from their planet, though their constellations would be different. There's a feeling of shared existence under one universe. Even if we never meet another civilization, just knowing that consciousness arose here on Earth means the ingredients for it exist in the cosmos. And likely, in many other places, nature has sparked that flame as well. Perhaps on some far-off world, other conscious eyes are gazing at their sky or their strange forests, feeling wonder and seeking meaning, just as we do. Thinking about alien minds can make us appreciate how special our own little world is. Until we find others, we have just each other, humans, and our fellow earthly creatures to share in the miracle of being aware. It's a reminder to cherish the life and minds that we know and to keep looking up with hope. The universe is mostly vast and quiet, as far as we can tell. But because we are here, we know that at least in this corner, the cosmos is alive and listening to itself. Maybe one day far in the future, our distant descendants will sit under alien suns on some new world and tell bedtime stories about meeting friends from another planet. For now, it remains a beautiful dream. And as you lie here, you can feel connected to the possibility of those distant friends simply by the act of gazing inward and outward in wonder. The same wonder that would drive any mind anywhere in the universe to seek companionship among the stars. We're nearing the end of our journey now, so let's slowly drift back to where we began, right here with you in this moment of quiet and rest. From the farthest galaxies to the tiniest thoughts in your head, we've wandered far. Now it's time to come home to the gentle presence of your own awareness, ready to settle into sleep. Take a slow, deep breath now and feel the calm in your body. We have journeyed through so many realms tonight, from the inner workings of your brain to the dreams of animals, from philosophical ponderings to far-off alien worlds. It's been a gentle adventure of the mind, and there's no need to remember it all. You can let the ideas just melt into a pleasant haze. What remains is a feeling of wonder and serenity. As you exhale, allow yourself to sink a little deeper into your bed. Feel how supported you are, how safe it is to release any remaining tension. Your own consciousness is ready for a well-deserved rest. You might notice that your thoughts are slowing down now, perhaps even fragmenting into little snippets as sleep comes closer. You can let them go. There's nothing you need to do or figure out right now. The mysteries we talked about will gently float in the background, or perhaps visit your dreams, but you don't need to chase them. Right now, you can simply be. If you've enjoyed this quiet journey through the nature of consciousness, I invite you to gently like this video or subscribe to join us for more nightly explorations. Here at The Sleepy Scientist, we love to wander through wonderlands of science and imagination, all in the service of helping you drift peacefully to sleep. Your support really does help more curious souls find these stories. Now together, let's embrace the peaceful night. Outside, the stars, or maybe the sun, if it's late afternoon where you are, will keep their watch, as they always have. The world will turn, the cosmos will hum its quiet tune, and you can let go and trust in the natural rhythm of rest. Tonight, you are connected to the wider universe, to this community of listeners, and to your own inner self. That gentle connection will be there even as you sleep, so you can relax completely, knowing you are not alone. We've all been drifting together on this journey, sharing the same stardust, the same curiosity, the same need for rest. Perhaps you'll find yourself wandering through a tranquil dreamscape, floating among soft clouds, or walking through a gentle, sunlit wood, simply enjoying the peace as the scenes unfold. Let your thoughts become dreams, and your dreams carry away any worries. Let the deep silence of sleep wrap around you like a velvet blanket. You are cared for, you are at peace. Good night, fellow traveler. Sleep well and sweet dreams. Your home among the stars is safe tonight.